Welcome to another episode of the Hoop Post Talk Show with your host, Chris Ramirez. And today our guest is Chris Rivers of Excel Sports, who is the Senior Director of NIL Recruiting, also the founder and owner of Tribute Sports Management. He was a sports marketing executive for Adidas. He assisted with Sonny Vacarro in directing the grassroots circus in high school basketball. He is going to share his story with us. And welcome to the show, Chris.
Good afternoon, Chris. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to dialoguing a little bit. Hopefully, some of the things we talk about will inspire some of the young people who were positions that you and I were many years ago, and hopefully, I'll be able to also maybe give some behind-the-scenes clarity to some things that happen that people don't fully know the real on. Let's do it.
Wonderful. And I just want to say thank you. And we're here to honor you for being a huge part in the game of basketball.
Thank you very much.
And want to get it started. So when is the first time you got involved with the game of basketball?
Well, like most of us, I played basketball in middle school, and I was fortunate enough to play basketball for a couple of years at a very successful high school. I'm from Oakland, California originally, and I played at Bishop O'Dowd High School for a couple of years in the 80s, and we were a Northern California powerhouse. My brother, Andre, played a couple of years before me. He won a state championship, as well as lost a state championship. So when I got to high school, I fell into a situation where basketball was respected. It's how people looked up to you. It's how the girls thought you were cool. It's kind of what I thought I wanted to do. My high school career didn't last very long. I only played 1 year of varsity and didn't play very much at all. But the lessons I learned from being on the bench, looking up to the upperclassmen, we had a gentleman named Chris Gray, Craig Wallace, Julius Terrell. There's so many other gentlemen who I looked up to who taught me a lot of things about life in addition to basketball. And our coach was named Mike Phelps, and he was really influential in just my growth and my appreciation for the game of basketball that went much further as I began coaching when I got in college and doing some other things that I was able to do. So Bishop O'Dowd High School and my brother Andre were kind of my two staples for getting me interested in basketball at a high level.
Yes, Bishop O'Dowd definitely has a reputation for a lot of good players there in Oakland, California. Brian Shaw, Brandon Ashley, Johnny Bryan, and Ivan Rabb.
No, we can keep going on and on, but we just don't have that much time. But
I,
no, for sure. And what Lou Ritchie has done, Lou Ritchie was a freshman when I was a senior at Bishop O'Dowd, and he's still the head coach there. But Lou is so much more than a head coach. Lou is the connector to probably 5 or 6 decades of Bishop O'Dowd alumni who played basketball or were just part of the student community there. So Lou is not only a dear friend, I consider him a little brother, but what he's done as an advocate for bringing attention to the lack of Black college coaches, what he's doing in the community, he's just so much more than a basketball head coach. But I'm very fortunate to have him in my network. So I want to make sure I give Lou his flowers now.
definitely. Shout out to Bishop O'Dowd and to much love to them. And we're gonna move on. I just want to ask you, what made you get into coaching, working at camps, and organize basketball leagues?
What truly inspired me to get into coaching basketball was I attended the University of California at Davis, and I went out for the freshman basketball team, and somehow they cut me. I still to this day don't know how I was getting buckets doing trials, Chris, but I realized that I still love basketball. I used to spend a little bit too much time in the intramural, playing intramurals and in the rec hall. And I mean, I was missing classes. I was getting there early. I was staying late. I just loved to compete. And then I realized that I wanted to coach and I wanted to continue to be a part of the game. So at that time, UC Davis' head coach was named Bob Williams. Bob Williams coached at UC Davis for many years. I think he ended up at Santa Barbara. He was probably the first person who actually took me into an office and started working on a whiteboard and showed me that I could take my passion and desire to be a part of the game and use it in a coaching capacity. So I started coaching 7th grade basketball in Davis. I went back to Oakland, coached a program called NorCal that was very, very heavily in the youth space at that time. I had a young fellow by the name of Eddie House on the 14U team. That was the first premier all-star team I took. And we went to Las Vegas to May Fisher's Easter Classic tournament. And that was in 1992. And I was so hooked on it. I told myself that whatever I have to do from this point on, I don't ever want to miss an AAU tournament in Las Vegas again. So since 1992 to this very date, I have not missed a year going to Las Vegas for a basketball event, except in 2020 during COVID. So that's kind of what sparked me.
Excellent. Definitely those Las Vegas tournaments are just awesome. Experience a few of them. But I know you started with coach involved with the Oakland Slam and Jam, which is now the Oakland Soldiers. Talk about the players and the other coaches on that team.
Yes, having the opportunity to work with the Oakland Slam and Jam or the Oakland Soldiers now was life changing. Calvin Andrews, who's the founder, director, CEO, everything that organization, gave me the opportunity to come work with him and be an assistant coach, recruit players. That was the summer of 1996. I transitioned and I got deep into it 1997 and 98. And he gave me the opportunity to coach. It was, I mean, I loved it. It was something that I was passionate about. I went to high school games every night. I was also coaching basketball at St. Joseph, Notre Dame, in Alameda at that time. So I was definitely an assistant coach there under Frank Laporte and Gordy Johnson and Jose Caraballo. So I was definitely around some good basketball minds 24/7. But the springtime when AAU season kicked in, working under Calvin Andrews and Hashem and Carl Foster and later Mark Olivier was something that definitely was life changing for me. The players we had at that time, Drew Gooden was drafted lottery pick, I believe the fourth pick in the draft, but other names like Justin Davis, who played at Stanford, Josh Chavies, Jules Milstead, Ray Young, Renee Jocks, Nate Marassi. I could go on and on and on about Rashawn Fulcher, about a lot of the young players and families who gave me an opportunity to get close to them and help me on my next trajectory into the business of sports besides just coaching. But Oakland Slam and Jam had so many outstanding, talented young men and just good men who were part of the program that definitely laid a foundation for what I've been doing even today.
Thank you for sharing there, Chris. We're gonna take this step forward. I know you got connected with Adidas and Sonny Vacarro, and talk about how that all started.
I'm having the opportunity to work at Adidas and with Sonny Vacarro started because of Calvin Andrews. Um, Calvin Andrews invited me to attend the Adidas ABCD camp in the summer of 1997. I went there uninvited. I slept on the floor. There's a gentleman by the name of Darren Matsabor, who's been in his business for 30 years, Mats, as we call him. So I slept on the floor of him and Calvin. And I walked around camp, didn't know anybody. My first day at camp, I met a woman named Pam Vaccaro, Sonny's wife, and another woman named Pam DeCesar. And they smiled and they gave me a credential and they welcomed me. And they gave me a chance to run around and I'm not sure if I was sweeping floors, picking up boxes, but that moment of kindness and just openness changed my whole life and whole perspective. So that opportunity kind of led me to meeting a gentleman by the name of Darren Kalish, who at that time was the Adidas grassroots basketball coordinator, who I would eventually end up replacing in 1999. But my life completely changed that summer of 1997. I was able to coach ABCD camp. It was the summer after PMAC did his famous dunk, so I missed that. But it opened up a world of basketball to me on a national level, and was able to connect and meet people who I still consider dear friends today.
And how many years did you work at that camp for?
I worked at ABCD camp the summer of 1997 and the summer of 1998. And then the summer of 1999, I was working for Adidas. So I was a part of the staff that was producing the camp. And I worked ABCD camp with Sonny Vaccaro and other stamp and the other men and women from 1999 through the summer of 2006. So we were with Adidas from 1999 to 2003. In 2004, Sonny flipped the script and Reebok was our partner. So that's when I started working at Reebok for a little while.
Excellent. Just what was it like working with Sonny Vaccaro?
What it was like to work with Sonny Vacarro was, I don't think we have enough time on this podcast to express it, but first off, uh, he was kind and genuine. He cared about people, black, white, red, or brown. He cared about people. Most of what he did was to help people live better lives, create platforms and opportunities for kids, not just the Kobe's and the Jermaine O'Neals and the T Macs and the Jonathan Benders and those guys that he was heavily involved with. I mean, there will be countless numbers of young men who might have came from Mississippi or Georgia who just him spending time with them or him making a call to open up an opportunity for them to get a college scholarship. I mean, the work that Sonny did was life changing. Um, I learned a lot from working with him those 7 years that we did. Also learned probably even more so from working with his wife Pam, who was button up, all the I's dotted, all the T's crossed. She was the one that really made the engine go on everything that we did. But um, Sonny taking me in early, giving me the chance. I had to do some convincing at first to get the opportunity. I think I blew up his phone. I used to mail letters. I don't think we were emailing back then, but that opportunity in 1999 definitely changed my life.
Wonderful. Shout out to Sonny Vaccaro, his wife Pam. What a blessing. And I know when you were in Adidas, you were part of the recruiting and the signing. You had guys like James Harden, Damian Lillard, and Jamal Murray. We could go on Tracy McGrady, Dwight Howard, Derrick Rose. You were involved with those six, getting them involved in Adidas. And can you share that with us?
Can you repeat that, please, Chris?
Um, you was involved with the signing of James Harden. You recruited and you got James Harden, Damian Lillard, Jamal Murray. Also assisted with Tracy McGrady, Dwight Howard, Derrick Rose, and a few other players to getting them involved into Adidas. Can you share that with us?
Most definitely. First off, let me clarify. Tracy McGrady was already at Adidas before I got there. Um, T Mac got signed by Adidas in '97. I didn't officially start working until '99. So primarily the first 6 or 7 years working with Sonny, I was just on the grassroots function. So I didn't start working with the signing of players until 2010. Um, Jim Gatto, who is my dear friend and colleague, he was the one running, he was the head of our global sports marketing for basketball. He was leading that. But I did have the opportunity to support the efforts. So one thing a lot of people don't know is not just one person, Chris, who goes out and signs it. It's a collaborative effort. It's a combination of sports marketing, product marketing, brand marketing, PR, design, and creative. For us to sign a player like James Harden or Damian Lillard or Jeremy Lin, it took a cohesive effort of a lot of people. And I work with a lot of amazing, creative, and talented people. But sometimes it was my job to kind of just be on the ground floor and go out and create the relationships. Or I remember when we were recruiting Damian Lillard, I think I went to his draft party because we didn't sign him until after the draft. And like myself, Damian's from Oakland. So his draft party, I believe, was at the Berkeley Marina. And I didn't know him that well. I knew some people who were connected to him, but we knew that Damian was going to be special. Jim was committed to making a compelling offer, and we think that we had a good story to tell. And none of us knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer and do all the things he was going to do that he's done, but it was something for where we were as a brand at that point. We had already had Derrick Rose. Derrick had obviously had MVP credentials, had recovered from an injury, was a global icon. Dwight Howard was still there at that time, but we knew that someone like Damian was someone who we didn't know, to be honest. We had no clue he was going to become who he is, and we're excited to see what he's doing. I mean, just as a man, not as a icon or as an endorser, what he's done for the community, what he's done as an activist, what he's done as an artist. So being able to say I was a small part of that, and I look back on it as something that I hold dear in my heart.
Wonderful, wonderful. And now with these athletes and people, any ball, even basketball, football, any players now who signs an endorsement, I want to just share us what are going to be the expectations from the players uh, as their role of being part of Adidas and the company's expectations, like yourself and the executives. Can you share us the roles of the expectations on both sides?
Well, since I don't work at a footwear company now, I can't say I can speak for what they value now. But back when I was in those positions, when I was inside those rooms having those discussions with my other colleagues, uh, things that we talked about were obviously talent, but being a good basketball player was never enough. We wanted someone that had the potential to inspire others. We wanted somebody that had something, you've heard it before, you referred to it as that it factor. And I think when you were trying to sign iconic players, whether it was Damian or whether it was when we brought James over, Derrick Rose obviously had it. Every player that we signed when I was at Adidas or Reebok did not have that special it factor. Sometimes you just needed players to just be on your roster just to support the growth of the product to tell stories. But when you think you had someone who was extremely special, um, we kind of went to the wall. I mean, we expected them to be rookie of the year or be in the conversation. We expected them to have the chance to lead their team to the playoffs by year 2 or 3. We hope that they'd be in all-star conversations. And if they were like Damian and like some of the other people that came after him, that they had the chance to lead a signature shoe franchise. Now, obviously, everyone doesn't do that. That's just some of the conversations that were happening within the boardrooms.
Thank you for sharing that too, as well. We in 2018, you were the founder um, of Tribute Sports Management. And can you share us what was your task and your involvement with Tribute Sports Management?
Yes, in 2018, when I created Tribute Sports Management, I was no longer working at Adidas, and I was trying to find an opportunity for me to still be in the game of basketball, but also take some of the learnings I had over the last 18 years and kind of give back to the game and also work with young players and their families. So um, it kind of evolved from where it started, but I knew I wanted to work in basketball. I knew I wanted to work with young people. I knew I had expertise and experience that I could bring to families. So my goal was to just kind of help young athletes and families on their journey. I never wanted to be an agent. I'm still not an agent. There's a lot of incredible agents out there where I work at Excel Sports today. We have a fantastic team of agents, but I knew that I brought value. I knew that a lot of the things I'd seen, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, that I could help a couple of families. So that's how Tribute Sports Management was formed.
Now, in 2019, when you was working for TSM, LeVar Ball reached out to you with the assistance of the relaunch of the Big Baller brand. Also, you played a role and you was involved with the Facebook show Football in the Family. What was your involvement in getting the brand relaunched?
First off, having an opportunity to work with LeVar Ball was something that, I mean, if you know him, you know him. If you know him from afar, you still know him. LeVar opened up his doors. He opened up his home. He opened up his business. He opened his family to me, and that's something I'll be forever grateful. Um, I did not work with his sons directly. I was strictly on the Big Baller brand side. Part of that relaunch, we were trying to. He had gone through some business transition, and we were just trying to reintroduce the consumers to the Big Baller brand. Obviously, what he had started in 2015 or 16 with the success of Chino Hills, of Mellow Jello, and Lonzo, and just him being himself was amazing. And we had got to the point where he hit a couple of speed bumps. And my dear friend, the last 20 years named Wayne Marino, was able to reconnect me with LeVar. And LeVar said, "Hey, you think you can come in and help us get this going again?" I said, "I can give it a shot for sure." So for 18 months, I served as a jack of all trades consultant to LeVar and the Big Baller brand, along with Wayne. And it was some of the most fun times of my life. I think you referenced the Facebook show, which I was fully aware of prior to working with LeVar, but I didn't know how real it was until one day I was in the kitchen and I was talking with Lonzo and a couple of his buddies, and then a discussion happened and LeVar came over my shoulder, and next you know, there was just words going back and forth, and I didn't even know that the cameras were there. And so then that was my first viral moment, and I was like, "Oh, this Big Baller, this LeVar stuff on TV is real." And to see the dynamics between father and son, excuse me, between father and son and young man, and a respected man trying just to, butt heads, but all with love. It just kind of showed me a different appreciation for who LeVar was and what he believed in, and also who Lonzo was and what he was becoming. But being a part of the Facebook show, never thought I'd be on a reality show, first off. I'm not sure if I'll do it again, but we had some good moments. Most of them were genuine and authentic. A couple of them, were a little bit produced, but I got to go to Australia a couple of times and watch LaMelo play and do some things behind the scenes. But just to be a part of LeVar's journey and his wife Tina, and how incredible loving of a family that the Balls are, was something that I would never take for granted going forward.
Yes, definitely. I got a chance last year to meet LeVar. He People don't realize what he's done for his sons that a lot of people don't do. He set his sons up for success, set them up with having their own business, and not many people could say that. He's been a
Agreed. Totally. I mean, I tell people, because people go, "I was working with LeVar." I get that asked a lot. First off, I consider him a dear friend. But secondly, I said that he loves his kids the way that I love my kids, and hopefully the way that you love your kids. He just had a bigger platform. He was a little more public facing with it. And he had three sons who were really, 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 really good in basketball and walked a fine line, straight and narrow, did things the right way, respectable, good gentleman. And obviously what Lonzo and what Melo are currently doing is amazing. And who knows where Jello's final chapter will be, but he's talented. He's smart. He's done some modeling. He has some entrepreneur things going on. Those three kids are going to be okay because they love each other. They have the support of a great family, and as you're right, LeVar set them up for success. That I don't mean credit to basketball. I think the tools he taught them about hard work, discipline, um, getting up early, staying up late, all those fundamentals that I think we all know are important to being successful. But LeVar was also not afraid of doing it his way. He didn't have his sons go run and play with some of the teams you may have thought. He did his own team. And some of those already documented. We won't have to get into those now, but he wasn't afraid of doing things his way, and it was worked out very, very well for him and his family.
Yes, definitely. And he was a good guy. I got a chance to meet him and talk to him. He's just very well public, very well personable. Uh was at the border league. He's over there
No,
with the merchandises. He's there and just
no,
and he's great to talk to.
he
And
gonna make sure you purchase some triple B's now. He gonna promote his brand, and he has the best t-shirts in the world. He has the best water in the world. He has the best hot sauce in the world. If there's triple B's on it, it's the best product in the world, and he will be the first, second, and third person to tell you that.
yes, and I purchased a few items from here, so I experience it. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. And now in November of 2021, you joined Excel Sports Management as the director of NIL recruiting, in which you're currently. Talk about your role today in Excel.
My role today at Excel Sports is I work in the basketball group, and there's 13 or 14 of us in the group. The majority of those are certified NBA agents. Myself and another gentleman are not. My role is to simply go out and identify and create relationships with players that we feel have the chance to be NBA draft picks. And obviously, with the NIL becoming prominent and prevalent, it's a lot easier to go out and create relationships with families of kids who are sophomores and juniors, where in a previous career, we weren't doing that at the level that we're doing it now. So, XL Sports, for a little bit of background, is based in New York. We have offices in Los Angeles and Miami, in Chicago as well. We do full-time representation in addition to basketball, to baseball, and full-service golf representation firm. We also do marketing for football. Football clients include retired Peyton and Eli Manning, Trevor Lawrence, Garrett Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Justin Herbert. We have a great line of just athletes in addition to Tiger Woods and Derek Jeter. So all that to say is that XL is a fully integrated sports agency. On the basketball side, we represent north of 55 NBA players currently on the roster. It's kind of fluid. But whether it's Chris Middleton, Jokic, Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, uh, who am I forgetting? John Collins, I could go on. Kemba Walker, Kevin Love. So Jeff Schwartz, who is the CEO and founder of Excel Sports going back to 2002, along with his partner, Sam Goldfeder, who I work with day to day. It's just been great to be able to become a part of there. So my relation with Excel started because I had the opportunity to be welcomed by the family of Mikey Williams. And I was able to help Mikey Williams process in the summer of 2021 when NIL first jumped off and went live. And I have a dear lifelong friend. His name is Matt Davis, who's vice president of marketing at Excel. And we were able to collaborate and help Mikey revolutionize the NIL game. Matt Davis and I were a part of collaborating to bring some of Mikey's incredible brand deals early in 2021. So that's kind of how I parlayed myself into the Excel opportunity.
And thank you for sharing that. And especially the NIL deal is becoming a big factor. And I wanted to ask you this too. And what are the things that from a perspective endorsement will look for in a student athlete? Besides they're great on the field, they're talented. What are the other things besides the talent they're going to look for in that student athlete?
Other things that brands look for in student athletes, Chris, is when a brand is looking to partner with a student athlete, they're looking to invest resources, ideally money or a product trade, so that the athlete can use his audience to promote the brand's partners. I think one of the many, how do I say this? One of the many challenges within this industry right now is often too many parents think because their kid is a good basketball player that makes them a good brand partner, and that's not the case. You have to be able to influence. So great basketball players need to be great influencers. Obviously, whether it's Mikey Williams or Jared McCain, we know those are two of the biggest. And I've seen a lot of the things that Excel's been able to do since we work with both those young men. But for kids who don't have 500, 800 million followers, I think that there needs to be something special about them, that they need to have an audience. They need to have a reach. They need to have people that engage with them on social media, because basically brands are paying these athletes to use their social media following to promote or align with their products. And sometimes many families I've interacted with get it confused that just because their kid's a really, really good basketball player, that they have the ability to influence. And oftentimes those don't align.
And I want to say thank you for sharing that and just educating for some of those who really can get a better understanding about the NIL, because this is going to be a huge part and you're going to see this for years to come. And it's really making a difference with a lot of student athletes today. And some of the players who were going to college in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and early wish they had this.
No doubt. I think that is one of the most, not fun, I don't want to say it. That's one of the, I guess it is fun. One of the more entertaining comments is when athletes who played in previous generations, I won't say any names, but they go, oh, if so-and-so would have played, if he would have had NIL in 2015 or 2005 or 19, he would have made X amount of money. But we all say that in hindsight, 2020. I wish they'd had NIL in 2016 too. My life might have been a little bit different, but it's just that it's here to stay. We're only in year 3. I am not an expert. I'm fortunate at Excel Sports. I work with a great team of people. We have a full-time NIL compliance attorney, my colleague named AT. He's always keeping me up on game from a compliance standpoint. I work with a guy named Parker Kane, who is a beast in the endorsement space and brands and has relations across every popular channel. And then we have a great team of young guys. I got 2 Ethans. I got Austin, a Lee, and a Blake. And so we just have a really, really strong in-house team. But once again, we can help create value for everyone. I mean, athletes and have to do their part. Besides just being good, you need to work on your social media. We have some athletes who don't ever want to post. Well, it's going to be tough for us, be difficult for us to find you a partner who wants to pay you to post if you don't like the post. And so there's just some things where I always try to advise young athletes that social media is huge. It's not going anywhere. It's a huge part of the sports too. But if it's not authentic to who you are, you need to really ask yourself why you're doing it. Because just getting paid is not going to be enough. But the target market that I have, I'm trying to find guys that want to be NBA players. So, not saying everyone's going to make it. We're definitely not naive in that. But if you're not going to be an NBA player, you're going to be a great 3 or 4 year college player. You're going to be all conference. You're going to go play overseas. So there's just a certain level of talent that we're trying to attract. Not saying we get it right all the time. Not saying I haven't been wrong before. I was wrong in 2006. I'm on record for not inviting Russell Westbrook to ABCD camp. That was me. So shout out to Reggie Morris if he's listening, because I was wrong there. I was only wrong about twice though, but that was the biggest one. So all that to say is, as we're trying to identify these players now, whether I'm in gyms, I'm talking to NBA scouts, I'm reading rankings, I'm talking to college coaches. There's only so much information we can consume, and then there's going to be somebody who, Brian Shaw, as you mentioned, who had to go to 2 colleges, didn't even start on his high school team, ended up having a 15, 16-year NBA career. So it's not a perfect science. I like to think that we use all the tools that we can to invest our time and resources in families, not only great players, but great people. Um, I tell families that there's some families I just like the parents. The kids, I mean, the kids are good, but when you have good families around you and you have good support systems, you know that the potential for that kid being successful, it's even greater than someone who has a circle that's a little less solidified or not as stable.
Thank you for sharing that, and just continue to all the best with Excel. See the greatness there in the future, and God bless with that. As we're gonna move on, I want to ask you, you got to be featured in a few documentaries at All Cost Man Child with Shay Cotton, who I had as a guest speaker
I
recently.
saw that.
Yes. And also gunning for the #1 spot. Share us that experience.
Being part of 3 different documentaries, my role in each one was different. So I'll start with Shay's. First off, I'm still mad at Shay because when Shay was 14U in Las Vegas, he put up like 40 points on the team I was coaching, and we weren't very good. And he reminded me we weren't very good. And so when I see Shay, I still look at him kind of sideways because he gave it to us every which way he could. Being able to just share a little bit of light on Shay's documentary was an honor for me because I had that experience of seeing what he looked like at 14. Living in Oakland, living in the Bay Area, I wasn't intimately involved at any level on his career, but knowing I remember when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I had that. So to have the opportunity to come and share what I remember of him and the impact that he made not only on the game of basketball on the West Coast, but naturally what he did to the culture of the game and how many other people he inspired. That was an honor to be a part of the Man Child documentary. As far as At All Cost, ooh, what was interesting about that one, my brother Atope got me connected with the producers of that. So that was something that I didn't know how it was going to come out because it didn't come out for like 2 or 3 years later after we had filmed all those. But when it came out and the way that it resonated once it jumped on Netflix and how many texts and calls I was getting from people who were watching it and how it just kind of blew up by it was one of the first times that it had shown the behind the scenes level of families and the stresses that go on of these kids who are trying to be high level power 5 basketball players and hopefully future NBA players like Gabe York and the other gentlemen were trying to do. But I thought it was extremely well produced. Um, Mike and Atope and the rest of the guys that was through them, that was something that was, uh, I never thought I'd be on Netflix. So I appreciate them working hard for that. The first one was gunning for the #1 spot. That's something I'm proud of because that was filmed in the summer of 2006. Gunning for the #1 spot was a documentary based off the original Elite 24 Boost Mobile game that was held in New York at Rucker Park. Um, my dear friend Chris Stone was kind of the orchestrator of that, and he allowed me to come in and play a significant role in recruiting some of the players. And those players doing that was the '06, excuse me, the '07 and '08 graduating classes. So Jared Bayless, Kevin Love, Kyle Singler, Doobie Doo, aka Brandon Jennings, were kids that I was intimately involved with, along with the guys on the East Coast, Dante Green, Tyreek Evans, Mike Beasley. I mean, just that was special, and that's something I'll hold to my heart because they took something that was real, happening in real time, and did it in an extremely um, artistic way where the film came out very, very well. So um, one of the Beastie Boys co-produced that, who's no longer with us, but that's something that I've only watched it, I think, once. But there's a piece of that where my kids were in it from a small little clip, and my kids were like 3 and 6 then, and now they're 25 and 22. So to have that little snapshot where I can go look at them on a film and say, "Hey, I put you in movies too. Dad can't be that bad." It's something, but no. So those three different documentaries were definitely different parts of my journey, and being able to work and celebrate some of the great talents and other people who are contributing to the game is something that I'm definitely appreciative of.
Awesome. Yeah, we got a couple of more questions here. Next question is, who are the people you give thanks to helping you have success in the basketball industry?
Before I list a few people to give thanks, my apologies in advance for those that I omit because the list is quite long. So I'm
Understand.
gonna try to do it in chronological order. Obviously, my mom and dad, who were influential in everything I did because they gave me an opportunity to be great. There were no walls, no limits. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'll start there. I'll transition to my brother, Andre, who he was a pretty good big brother. He's 4 years older than me, but I always wanted to be him or be better than him. And he was a good high school basketball player. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame at UC Davis. Watching him play high school basketball when I was a ball boy in seventh and eighth grade, that was something that I aspired to do. So outside of my family, but definitely um, Coach Mike Phelps was number one. I already shouted out Bob Williams, but Frank Laporte, Gordy Johnson, Jose Carapallo, Victor Porter at St. Joe's, everyone in Oakland Slam and Jam, Calvin Andrews, Carl Hashem. I told you, Mark, those guys. And then when I started my professional career, I got to shout out Ray Young. Ray Young played at UCLA as McDonald's All-American, I think in '98. Um, Ray was that first player whose family trusted me to kind of help guide their journey or be a part of their process. And I had never done it from a national level, but Ray Young was that first athlete along with from a national level. I mean, there was Jules Milstead and David Hector and other players from a regional level, but Ray Young was someone who my affiliation with him opened up doors to a national level. And then once I got started my professional career, whether it was Jimmy Salmon in New Jersey, Mac Irvin in Chicago, Wallace Prather in Atlanta, Tony Squire in Virginia, John Urian, Houston, Mitch Malone in Dallas, Francis Williams in Seattle. I mentioned Mott's. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, there's been so many people who have put me up on a little bit of game, or um, or put me up on a lot of game, and sometimes it wasn't in ways that I fully understood at that time. So I've been very, very fortunate.
God bless. And just been really, that's been a blessing right there.
Most definitely.
And the last question. I'm sure you witnessed a lot of great basketball events, been involved in the game, and been to a lot of elite games. But I want to ask you, what is your greatest basketball moment and why?
What is my greatest basketball moment and why? Man, that's a tough one, Chris. I don't know if I have one. So I think I'll share with you the wildest one, probably. Summer of 2017 in Las Vegas. Um, my team at Adidas and I were running the summer championships, and there was a crew of people who were instrumental in running that. But we were fortunate enough to host a game between LaMelo Ball and Zion Williamson. And what happened that day, starting at 10 o'clock a.m., when I got a text from, I believe, Tony Hansen, she held 27 titles with me, but She used to work with me at Adidas, and she said, "We just got a call that LeBron's people may want to come to the game tonight." And I'm like, "Whatever, they can come to the game." I was slow to getting on the social media bandwagon, so let's just say in 2017, my IG presence was minimal. Uh, my Twitter presence even more minimal. So I was not in that social influence. I didn't understand all that was going on. But by the time that night happened and that game started, I knew I was in a lot of, how do I sort? I knew I was in the thick of it when I was inside the Cashman Center in Las Vegas with Dan Cutler and Albert Hall and our crew, our local team from Las Vegas. And I got a call from the police chief, and they wanted to talk to me about the crowd that was outside. Now, crowd control is not my specialty. Basketball is putting on events, but that I didn't understand the influence that two 17-year-old kids could have. And LaMelo and Zion brought more attention to, I didn't believe it. So as the night goes along, we had to close the doors. The Cashman Center, which is a pretty decent sized venue where we had 7 courts for the tournament in Las Vegas, was all full. We couldn't sell any more tickets. My phone was blowing up. People were trying to get in. We were literally trying to shake the doors outside. I was talking to the police chief. They said, "Hey, if you don't get this under control, we're going to shut you down." And then I get a call from, I believe, Albert Halls, and says, "Yo, LeBron is in back. He wants to come." So I'm like, ah. So that was one of the more challenging management pressures I've been under at that time on how to navigate that. That was during the time where we already had more people than we needed. It was already getting to a point where liability versus reward, we were already balancing. So, make a long story short, I had to go outside and have a conversation with LeBron, who I had known from a few years earlier, and tell him why I'd appreciate it if he would not come inside the facility. So he was in the car. It was him, Ty Lue. I think Lynn Merritt was in another car. Some of the Nike guys, they had already came in. So it was all this thing because everybody had heard LeBron was outside. LeBron was trying to get inside, and the game was going inside. And I had to go outside and just say, and we had a brief gentleman's conversation, and he understood. And we survived that night, and that was people still talk about that night. If you were there in Vegas, where you sat, how you got in, how you snuck in, who let you in. And I hadn't seen anything like that personally since the summer of 2006 when OJ Mayo and Bill Walker and the D1 Greyhounds played the SoCal All-Stars with Kevin Love, Taylor King, Brandon Jennings, Renardo City, and we were at Foothill High School. We had 3,000 people inside, another 1,000 people outside. We couldn't let them. So I've been a part of a couple events like that, just kind of make me ask, that had me ask myself, is this really going on? What do we do? Where's my cell phone? Do I hit 911? Is crowd control where it needed to be? But I've always been fortunate to have a great crew and a great staff working with me to collaborate. So that's just one of my stories. But yeah, but I hold that one dear.
Wow. Well, I'm going to share you this before we go. I remember that game in 2000. I was there in 2006.
Okay.
That afternoon, seeing the SoCal All Stars play and Mean Streets play. And it was that great weekend. I went to the U.S. Basketball tryouts and went to another event, but I had to leave that Sunday night, so I wasn't able to see that game, and I was disappointed because I wanted to see that matchup between the Greyhounds and the SoCal All Stars, and that SoCal All Stars team was a very special team.
One of, I would say one of, because I'm not one to say who is, but one of the greatest ever. If you ask Pat Barrett, ask Kelly Williams, they'll tell you it's the best team ever. But just that weekend, um, for those who understand grassroots history and have been in the game a little bit older, watching Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon play in the same backcourt in the summer of 2006 was something that, I mean, and Jared Bayless was next level. Eddie Rios, who didn't have the successful NBA career that the other guys had. I mean, it was, and young Brandon. Brandon. It was just too much. I mean, there was the guard play in that tournament that summer was so high level, and I think Mean Streets had 6 people that year, and first time Derek and Eric had ever played together. It was almost like they had been playing together their whole lives. But that's why they're both still in the NBA right now, year 15, 16, whatever they're on, and getting buckets and holding their own. No, summer of '06 was definitely probably the most impactful summer of my basketball career for the events we held. We had started getting stuff on TV with CBS Sports, so the game was changing. And you could kind of see at that time that grassroots basketball / high school basketball was about to take another jump. So a lot of things that we're seeing right now with what Paragon is doing. And I mean, just think when I saw you in Las Vegas, Chris, there was high school basketball on in October on
Yes.
national TV. I mean, the basketball season hadn't even started yet. And I like to think that a lot of the work that not just me, but whether it's the Dinoses and even the Clark Francis and the Bob Gibbons and everyone who poured into the grassroots basketball circuit at that time, Rob Kennedy on the East Coast. I mean, there's so many people who invested so much of their time and created platforms for this boom that we're seeing right now, where companies want to spend money to be a part of high school basketball, be a part of summer basketball, whether you're watching the EYBL or the Adidas circuit or the other or the UA Elite 24. I mean, this is summer basketball now being broadcasted on live TV, which is pretty cool. So we've seen it grow a lot. I think it's going to only continue to grow. High school basketball is not what it was when I played for those minimal games in 1986. Wasn't what it was in 1996 when I was coaching. It wasn't what it was in 2006 when I'd go watch OJ Mayo and Bill Walker sell out in North College Hill, or what LeBron did in Akron. But it's definitely different, and I think it's going to keep growing. But people also have to caution and be careful what you ask for. There's also there's some landmines on that journey to growth that people, I think parents more so, they want it so bad for their kids. They want their kids to have it. They want them to get it. That you kind of just have to caution yourself on that journey, on that road to success.
Yes, it's different atmosphere. But Chris, I want to thank you for sharing your story, and I wish you all the best in your journey. And that was a great testimony. And this will end our show. I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Hoop Post Talk Show, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.